Hey everybody, welcome back to Downtime with Jacob and Greg. I'm Greg.
I'm Jacob.
In this episode, we're going to talk about the trends in technology and how it's evolved so far and where it's going to go. We'll see you right after this intro. All right, welcome back everybody. So like we said, we're going to talk about technology. So technology has evolved a lot since we were kids.
Yeah.
I feel like we've always grown up with technology though.
Yeah, it's always been around in the house. I remember whenever I was young, I had this big clunky computer that my dad had that I guess he bought at some point. And then
I hope he didn't steal it or anything.
No, I don't think he stole it, but it's just, every piece of technology that we've had has just gotten smaller and smaller throughout the years.
I noticed that too. And then like 2 years ago, they started getting bigger with it. Or not 2 years ago, but like maybe 5 years ago, they started getting bigger with it. Like with iPhones and they used to be really small and now they're getting a little bigger.
And I think what it is that people are watching movies and stuff on their phones now. And so they want more screen.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it's nuts, like way back in the day before we were even a thought probably, computers took up a huge room.
Yeah.
And now...
Besides a school bus.
Yeah. And now my iPhone is a computer.
Yeah.
Like it can do everything any other like traditional desktop can do.
Well, yeah.
Minus the keyboard.
Minus the keyboard, and like if it's for something specific like CAD software, video editing. I mean, you could do some of that, but like it's not as powerful as like an actual computer would be. But it's still pretty amazing. You could still do some of the things.
Yeah, it's nuts. So speaking about iPhones, let's go ahead and jump into like smartphones. So I remember growing up, I had. It's weird. I don't know if you can relate to this, but in second grade, I had a phone.
In the second grade?
Yeah, second grade. Just because I had to take the bus, and my parents wanted to make sure that I was okay at all times.
No, I didn't get my phone until I was 13.
13.
Yeah.
So what is that? Middle school age?
Middle school-ish, like right before high school.
Okay.
And it was like I mean I would go home on the bus, and before I got my phone, and I mean. My parents just knew where I was going to be. I didn't really sneak out.
Yeah, I didn't. Well, I mean, I'm not going to incriminate myself.
Yeah, I mean, there would be times like if my friend was home and he lived in the neighborhood down, like I would go down, sure, but I would just have to be back before my parents were back. That way, they knew I wasn't gone.
Yeah. What was your first type of phone?
It was a slide phone. It was one of those slide. Samsungs with a keyboard and a small screen.
Was it a flip up? Like it had the keyboard, but you had to flip up, or yours was slide?
It was a slide.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't get my first smartphone until I was 16, and that's only 3 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're only 19.
I am only 19.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. We've talked about this like before.
Yeah, you're right.
Talking about how I'm a youngin'.
I just forget. But yeah, mine was a flip phone, my first one. A red flip phone. It had, before you flipped it open, it had a little dial thing that you can move, and that was to control the volume. It was very weird.
Was it like a skinny little phone? Like it was skinny and then you slid up the...
No, it wasn't a slide up. It was a flip up.
Oh, okay.
So like you would flip it up, and then you would have the number pad.
Yeah, and T9 texting.
T9 texting, what's that?
Like where you type the letters out individually?
Yeah, so if you click the number 1 3 times, then you could get to the C.
Yeah. So
it was very different times from what it is now. And I don't remember when I got my first smartphone. It must have been in high school, I think.
Well, see, for me, it was a big deal because, I mean, I had an iPod Touch.
Same.
I had the 4th gen, and then I got the 5th gen iPod Touch, and then like that was just everything to me.
Yeah.
Like I had apps and stuff on it.
Those had cameras, right?
Yeah.
My iPod Touch, I think it was generation 3, so I didn't have the camera.
That didn't have the camera, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was like my taste of smartphones, and then it wasn't until, ironically enough, I started driving that I was able to get a smartphone. Well, I got it before I started like driving full time, but like
this sounds dangerous.
Yeah, like my parents. Like, I told my parents repeatedly that I wouldn't be on my phone. And then, of course, like, there are times that I take calls. Nothing else.
Right.
But I'm very careful with how I use my phone in my car now, because there have been close calls. But it's just, it was weird. 16, getting a smartphone and able to drive. It was like my parents were trying to set me up to fail.
Yeah,
with that, weird. But like I didn't. I think I surprised them a little bit, honestly.
Yeah. So did your parents ever have the BlackBerry? My
dad did for work, because he worked at a cell phone company, U.S. Cellular. This is after the recession, and he lost his job. He had been going to school. He got his associates, and then he got a job in Galax, Virginia, and in Wilkesboro, North Carolina, and Mount Airy, North Carolina. So he was general manager of 3 stores, so he was driving constantly. And at first he had a BlackBerry, and then it went into just a different smartphone, I think.
Yeah. So the BlackBerry was definitely for the business type of person.
Yeah.
It wasn't for your average Joe. Because I remember my mom, she had the BlackBerry, and she would always just use it for, like, checking emails and stuff. And that was the first time you could actually check your email on a phone.
Well, check your email efficiently.
Right.
Like, you could do it, but it just wasn't fun on any other phone.
Yeah, and I remember back in the day with, like, my flip phone, there was an internet feature. But if you ever hit it, you would be scared because it would charge you if you used the internet like that.
Yeah, so I always didn't use the internet because I didn't want to have this like cell phone charge, and my parents were like, what did you use this for?
Yeah.
But no, when my dad had the BlackBerry, and whenever he wasn't using it for work, I played Brick Breaker on it. Did you ever use your mom's phone to play Brick Breaker?
I did. I loved
that game. Like, I don't know what it is, but it's something about being a kid and using your parents' like fun things.
Right.
And like, even though looking back on it, like a BlackBerry is kind of boring.
Well, it's got a physical keyboard on it, which is what a lot of people actually miss nowadays.
I like, if a smartphone came out with a slide keyboard, I would totally be fine with it now.
Yeah, they've got
BlackBerry did with the BlackBerry Priv.
Right.
And it worked out kind of well, but people just weren't ready to go back to that nostalgia again.
Yeah, I guess so. So, speaking about nostalgia and like flip phones and stuff, have you seen the new phones that are coming out, which are smartphones, but they fold? Have you seen these?
Yeah, so the Galaxy Fold, Motorola's coming out with the new Razr.
Right. I don't like the new Razr thing because while it's cool that it's a traditional flip phone, it flips vertically. It has a terrible camera on it. And it's only, there's no front-facing camera.
Yeah.
It's only to take pictures of other things.
And it's like $1,200.
Yeah.
Which, like, no one, I feel like, for review sake, people might, buy it and then probably sell it or, like, send it back, but...
Right. So the whole screen is touchscreen, and it folds.
And it folds.
Yeah.
Folding phones, I'm not excited for.
Me either. I don't want any part of it.
There are phones that, it's one phone, but you can put it onto a device that adds a second screen. Like LG is doing this phone where it's like that. And it has a second screen attached to it, but it's separate from the actual phone.
I don't think I follow.
So, like, with a book, right? You open the book, there are pages on 2 sides.
Okay. So
you put the phone in this, like, book-esque cover.
Okay.
And there's a screen on both the left and right sides.
Oh, I see.
So think about like a DS screen on both sides.
Yeah.
It's like full touch screen on both sides.
Okay.
But the main phone is separate from
that feature.
From the feature.
Okay.
And I think people could easily adapt to that. It's a folding phone, but it's not the whole screen.
Right.
You can separate it anytime you want to, and it's helpful for productivity stakes.
So just to make sure I'm understanding, it's kind of like having an iPhone and an iPad. Is it kind of like that, where you take your iPhone and then you hook it up to your iPad?
Well, it's just it adds a second screen to the phone.
Okay.
Basically.
Oh, okay.
So, like, whenever you put up, I guess technically, or like whenever you have your laptop and you hook it up to a TV.
Okay.
Except they're both the same size.
Got you.
Yeah.
Okay, that's kind of cool.
So, I don't know. I kind of want to mess around with that, see how I would like it. I think it would help productivity-wise. Have your calendar, and have like a video or music going on your phone, and then have your laptop with work.
Yeah. So let me ask you that. Like, I know for me, I don't keep a traditional planner. Like, I don't write anything down like that.
Right.
But I'll put my stuff in my digital calendar. So how do you organize your stuff?
Short answer is I don't. But I don't know. Like, whenever I have something important to do, I will put it in my Google Calendar.
Mm-hmm.
Or if it's extremely important, I will write it everywhere and put it to where, like, I'll see it whenever I get up or something.
Yeah.
So I'm still in the, like, I call myself an old soul where I like to write things down whenever I can.
Which is really funny that you say that. I know I just interrupted you.
No,
but,
go ahead.
But we think that we're older because we're not using technology.
Yeah.
We think that's an older concept. But really, technology has only expanded in the last, 20 years, 25 years?
Yeah, so
with the internet coming in.
We're close to that age.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, like, you see older people who don't like technology because, they think it's stealing jobs or whatever from actual human beings, which it is. I mean,
it's just creating different jobs.
Yeah, it's creating different jobs for the future.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of trying to remember stuff like on my phone. The laptop I got recently had a stylus that comes with it, and I feel like that's going to be more helpful with me adapting to, like, using technology to write stuff down. Because with my phone, it doesn't have a stylus, so
you just use your finger,
and that's just not efficient.
Yeah.
Because I have fat fingers, so it's like I can't write things down properly. But with the stylus on my laptop, just writing it down, I can take notes, have a calendar going, different things like that.
Yeah.
But I also want to buy an iPad because it's even more condensed down.
It's really funny. I really love the idea of an iPad, but I've had an iPad in the past and never used it. So I don't know what it is for me I guess I have an iPhone and I have a laptop, so that I use those, and I don't really see the need for an iPad. But it's weird that I love the idea of the iPad, but I never actually use it.
I like the idea of the new iPads, like with the Apple Pencil and things like that.
Okay, yeah. It's for the creative person.
Yeah, or if you don't want to have notebooks carried around all the time,
right.
You have it all one there. You have it all on there with, like, OneNote and things like that, which is what I use on my laptop to help write stuff down. Yeah, if I really need to remember it. I don't know. It's interesting to see, like, even now with we're both in a communication program right now, and we're using these editing softwares, and you think back to before we even knew what Adobe Audition was and things like that.
Yeah.
We used Windows Movie Maker. Did you ever use that?
No, I used iMovie.
iMovie. Well, same thing.
It's
right?
just Apple's version.
Yeah, so it's just interesting to see how people adapt to these newer, better editing softwares. Where I remember whenever I was a kid, like, the Windows Movie Maker was way above my head.
Yeah, and there's definitely a learning curve going into any of these programs.
Yeah.
And you bring up a good point. Like, you said this a little earlier, but it's also changed the workforce a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like nowadays, if you're not very tech savvy, it's really hard in your industry because everybody uses computers. There's not really there's things that you have to file with paper,
of course,
but every industry that I could think of uses some type of tech in it,
unless they're Amish.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, the Amish people are, like, the only ones that really refrain from technology, and even then there are more modern Amish people that use power tools, but
right.
Like, even that is just like it's not computers and things like that.
Yeah, but some of them even use a cash register.
Yeah.
That'd be considered technology.
That's kind of a computer.
Yeah.
It's
got a computer.
It's a simple computer.
Yeah, it pops up the numbers on the screen.
Yeah, and it's weird to see how there are still, 2019 about to be 2020, still societies in the world where technology is not prevalent. Like, there are tribes in the Amazon or different things like that where, they are so secluded that, like, the governments of the country are like NATO, not NATO, the U.S., whatever it is, like the World Organization that all the leaders, I don't know
the
what it's
UN?
called. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
I got a minor in political science.
Oh, thank you. It was fun facts with Greg right there. The UN, like, they put in these rules and regulations of, like, we have to protect the outside world from going in, but the outside world, like, you know, the inside world doesn't know what we're trying to do. And it's interesting to see how, like, there's that kind of protection without any communication.
Right. But technology has definitely expanded communication.
Definitely.
I know that there was a time where it was just phone call, and I remember FaceTime coming into existence, or even Skype.
Skype was the big one.
Yeah, Skype was the first one. The first one I can remember.
Yeah.
But it was just interesting that you can now see somebody that may be hundreds, if not thousands, miles away. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really, really crazy.
So whenever I first got my iPod, the 5th generation, I think, is when I really used FaceTime. Like, I don't know, like, I don't like having to position the camera, though, to where it's, like, makes me look good.
You got to find your angle.
Yeah, where, like, if it's with Skype or something, I have a webcam to set up, and I can just do whatever. I don't really care.
Yeah.
I feel like FaceTime is more intimate.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it's just two friends being goofy or something.
Yeah. I know, like, in my day-to-day life, just to talk about trends a little bit, I use my smartphone all the time.
Right.
Like, I have an Apple Watch. I get notifications all the time. It'll vibrate my wrist.
Right.
And I'm just checking it constantly. So in my fraternity, we have this thing called a retreat where we get away for a little bit and we go to a cabin. We have no Wi-Fi there. And I really love it because I don't have to worry about my phone. I don't have to worry about these notifications. I feel like constantly in life nowadays, it's, oh, who's messaging me? What do I need to look at? Keeping up with social media. That's a whole nother topic that we can get into with social media.
Yeah.
But it's just constantly making sure you're up to date on things.
Yeah, so I recently went to a concert, and, the singer of this band, Tool, he's a very private person. And the rule is that you don't have your cell phone out at all.
At the concert?
At the concert.
Okay.
And it was refreshing because, like, the main thing was don't record or take pictures, right? And, like, I had texted, like, a little bit during it, but other times I was just invested in the music. And if there was, like, a break between songs, I'd be like, check my phone real quick and, like, see if I have to message back. If not, it's going back in the pocket.
Right.
It was refreshing not having to hold my phone up and just, like, stay recording, like, constantly, or, like, I was actually experiencing the concert.
Exactly.
But then at the last song, he was like, all right, North Carolina, it's been real. You can take out your stupid smartphones for the song. And you just see this wave of blue fill up the arena. Because people were so excited to get their phones out.
Yeah.
And I got my phone out to record other people getting their phones out because it was hilarious.
Funny. Yeah.
And, like, you just see blue screens everywhere, like, immediately going towards the stage.
Isn't that annoying, though? Like, on Snapchat, I'll go on, like, stories sometimes, and it's the entire concert.
Yeah.
It's like, did you even watch the concert, or did you watch the concert through your phone?
I was guilty of that for my first rap concert I went to. I saw Amine. He's a great artist.
Okay.
But at the same time, like, I only recorded, like, songs that I really liked. Okay. And then, like, other times, I liked the songs, but, like, I was just wanted to be in the moment with them.
Yeah.
And it brings up this idea of why do we share some of these things where, like, it should be for us.
Yeah. And I think that goes into a little bit of psychology where it's like we're showing these things off because we want others to think that we're cool.
Or
basically.
Be jealous.
That they're not in our situation.
And, with the rise of the smartphone and everything like that, it's just made it worse.
Yeah. Social media.
Is just...
regardless of Snapchat.
Yeah.
It's just keeping up with the Joneses, basically.
Yeah. And definitely a difficult thing to, like, really talk about in one podcast when we're focused on technology.
Right.
That is a whole other
That's a
topic.
whole nother podcast.
So with the, age of the smartphone, what do you think about, let's talk about computers.
Okay.
Talk about the traditional desktop computer versus a laptop versus a tablet.
Okay.
What makes you think that people shift from one to the other based on, like, trends?
Well, I think for me, with desktop, I immediately think of gaming for some reason. I feel like there's more power in a desktop than you can get in, say, a laptop or a tablet.
Right.
I feel like a lot of people with their desktops, they get to customize it really, really to who they are and what needs they want. Desktop is also used for editing softwares, stuff you need a lot of power for. And then with laptop, I think of the on-the-go person. So maybe like a college student who likes to do their work in like Starbucks, or like writers and things like that. Mm-hmm. I personally love my laptop. I don't have a desktop, a personal desktop. I have a desktop for work, but like for my job.
Yeah.
But I definitely love the laptop. With the tablet now, I feel like that's very creative people. I feel like it's either people that want to take the notes, like you were saying, or people that are like graphic designers or artists that are trying to keep up their craft and design some things. Now, they also have the desktops that you can use as tablets, basically.
Yeah, like the Surface Studios, like we have in the library.
Yeah. Are those the ones where it's like you can do animation and stuff on it?
Yeah, like you can hold it down and it comes down to like a certain degree, and people just like write on it like it's an electronic whiteboard.
Yeah, that's definitely how animators are doing stuff nowadays.
Or they use Wacom pads, like Wacom tablet pads.
Oh, okay.
They have drawing tablets that you could just plug in.
Yeah.
But it's different versus like with the Wacom pads, you're not looking at a screen. You're looking at the screen in front of you, but you're holding your pen and just not looking at where you're writing.
Yeah.
So it's a little, you have to adapt to it, but.
For sure. Would you agree with my assessment of the desktop versus laptop versus tablet? What's your take on it?
I agree with the gaming thing. I would also add that desktops are more business.
Yeah.
They just buy desktops in bulk. Like, for example, when I worked at my local county government, we had hundreds of desktops just waiting to be put out. And that was just because everyone uses a desktop there, and then whenever they aren't using a desktop, they'll check out a laptop. Some people have laptops as their like main computer, and they just hook up to a dock. But desktops are like business oriented as well as gaming and editing.
Yeah.
It also brings up the all-in-one desktops with the screen and everything, just all-in-one like device.
Right, because instead of having a monitor and like a tower, they would have it all in one.
Yeah, like the Mac we're recording at right now, all-in-one.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't have been a thing like 20 years ago.
Right.
No one would have even thought about that. Like, I'm sure they were thinking about it, but the technology was just not there because everything was just clunky.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Technology is just, I don't know. I'm excited to see what comes next.
Yeah, for
honestly.
Sure. Honestly, I can't think of anything like, what do we need in technology? I don't know.
I think holograms are going to be a thing soon.
They've got the concerts where they're holograms.
Yeah.
So like they do Michael Jackson and other people like that.
Yeah, it's just a matter of time before it's like able to be in the palm of your hand. Mm-hmm. I think that'll be
kind of like Star Wars type thing.
I think that'll be past our lifetime, though.
Yeah.
I have seen where people have tried to make like tablets like paper.
Like that thin?
Yeah, like disposable electronics.
Really? Oh, I've seen something like that.
Or it could be like reused for something.
Yeah.
VR is another thing too that has just popped up here in the last 5 years alone.
Yeah. Have you ever done the VR stuff?
I went to a VR arcade in Orlando, Florida.
Really?
And it was amazing. It was $130 for 3 people in 45 minutes to do a VR mission. And
kind of like an escape room thing?
Well, kind of, yeah. But it's this big empty room that, I mean, it has columns and some blocks that are like there that are in the game.
Right.
There are sensors everywhere. People build these games specifically for the size of the room.
That's really cool.
And you have the backpack on with the headset and a gun. And the thing with that, it was like, it was so immersive that, you know, there would be times where you're looking down, there's a plank you have to walk on, or there was one part that really freaked me out because it looked like it was a ramp going down, but the floor was flat. So my body naturally was just going down. And it was pretty dope. But VR has really changed the idea of what could gaming be.
Yeah.
I've used to watch...
It actually puts you in it.
Yeah, I used to watch where they had these special treadmills where you were latched in, but you could turn 360 and just walk with like socks on, and like it simulated running or walking. And I'm excited to see that really come into play. Or eventually, it's going to be like Ready Player One.
That's a good movie.
Where everyone's just in a VR world escaping the crappy real life.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think technology is going to get to a point where, we just can't do anymore.
You think so?
At this current rate, probably. And then, as we explore other planets, or, maybe there's alien life forms out there that have their own technology that we could incorporate. But that's just, a whole other thing. Like, are there aliens out there? Like,
do you believe in aliens?
I mean, do you?
Of course. There's got to be something else.
There's got to be something out there.
That could be another episode.
But it's like humanity is only able to do things up to a certain point.
Right.
And it's the way that all life works. You peak at something and then you stay there until something else comes along, either helps you for the good or ruins you.
Right. Well, just think back to technology is such a broad term. So during the Industrial Revolution, technology was like the mechanical stuff of factories.
How can we make this production line quicker?
Right. So that was really revolutionary for them, and they probably couldn't think of anything else.
Yeah.
And now we're in the day and age of digital stuff, computers, that kind of like software, hardware type
full
stuff.
Full movies being made out of computer-generated images.
Right. They don't need tangible film anymore.
Yeah.
So I think it's just going to be something different, something new. I don't know what it's going to be, but there's got to be something.
I hope to live where I see something that just blows my mind completely. Mm-hmm. Like VR is awesome, right? And I've lived through that. I want it to happen again. I want to have these experiences of this is bananas. Like what is going to happen next?
Yeah, I think it'll be really cool to see. Now, I do want to mention the elephant in the room, how technology has affected the generation.
Yeah.
So, do you think that it's made people less sociable? What are your thoughts?
So my dad's generation is Generation Y, I believe.
Okay.
My brother's generation is the millennials, mm-hmm. and I am Gen Z. Mm-hmm. I feel like there was a huge separation between me and my brother, but there's more communication between me and my dad based on how millennials have affected the Gen Zers.
In what way?
Gen Zs look at millennials and they see something that they don't want to become. And that's, either too sensitive or too dependent on technology or like different things like that. And I think it used to affect it a lot. Communication, there were a lot of communication barriers. I remember I was a kid and I would be like on a device all the time, but now like I'm grown up. Well, for the most part, I'm more mature and I know when's the best time to have technology, when's the best time to just put it away, hang out with in the moment.
Yeah.
And I think. I don't think it's going to affect it anymore because the Gen Zers are going to teach the next generation. It's good to incorporate technology with communication, but there are also times where you need that face-to-face contact.
Yeah, exactly. I do think that it has hindered some people in the Generation Z of not being able to have conversations with others.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point.
Just because they do it digitally and they don't really know the human interaction part of it.
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of a shame. I think that Gen Z definitely suffers with being able to confront people with things that they have problems with, or even being able to go up to somebody that they're interested in and approach them. I feel like a lot of times nowadays it's, let me slide into their DMs.
Yeah. Which is dumb.
Yeah, and the online dating and all that kind of stuff, it's just going with the times.
Yeah.
But there's something special about meeting somebody in person.
So me personally, I'm a very good conversationalist,
Mm-hmm.
from what I've heard from people.
Yeah.
There are often times I don't believe that. I'm not good with approaching, like, a girl that I'm interested in. And that's just because I'm afraid of rejection. It has nothing to do with, like, the technology and affecting, like, oh, I'm just going to text her or whatever.
Yeah.
It has happened where, like, I'll be like, yeah, I like you over text, but then I feel like a punk. Like, I don't think I was, like, brave enough.
Yeah.
So I do agree, like, there's a certain feeling you get whenever you tell someone you like them and they're, like, you're face to face and you're faced with it, whether they like you or not, like, you're experiencing it.
Yeah. Hey, Jacob, I like you.
Oh, man. I mean, I don't feel the same way, honestly.
Dang, that's rejected.
We could be friends, but that's about it. And you had said something, and I kind of get it. People are missing out on conversations now. And I feel like, well, me personally, I've seen a lot of people have more conversations, like, in person recently.
Mm-hmm. Something did spark recently that's like, I need to put this down, and I need to talk to people.
It definitely used to be like that in high school. Like, people were on their phones all the time.
Yeah. But
because the friends that I made in high school, we're all essentially the same, like, in terms of how we. I'm the better conversationalist between all of them, because anytime they're faced with strangers, they're like, Jacob, go talk to him. Like, but we all, like, approach each other in the sense of, like, we'll text each other. We have a group chat. I mean, any friend group does. But, whenever we hang out in person, like, we try to not be on our phones unless we're showing each other, like, memes or whatever. But
we have a rule in my friend group that if we go out to dinner or lunch, or if we're eating a meal with each other, we'll put our phones in the middle of the table.
Uh-huh.
And if whoever touches their phone throughout the dinner or lunch before the check comes, that means you have to pay for everyone's meal.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Yep.
I'm just always broke, and I can't do it with my friends. I have to get a stable job before I can challenge them to that.
That's fair.
But I also think I'd be the first one to lose.
Really?
Because, like, I do have a lot of things going on my, like, phone.
That's okay. Just set it aside for an hour.
Well, I mean, yeah, but what if it's, like, during a bad time where, like, I'm trying to deal with an emergency?
Well, that's a special case.
Yeah.
Then that could be discussed at that time.
I mean, I guess.
Yeah. But I definitely think that technology has made it more accessible for people to talk to others. Technology as a whole has been really beneficial in the development of the human race.
Yeah. It has also hindered the human race by attention span.
Mm-hmm.
And just, we're putting these screens in front of children before they're able to mentally process what things are happening.
That's true.
I think television is different at a distance. You keep your kids separated from the TV with a good amount of distance between them.
Yeah, like physical distance.
Yeah. And it's just sound and some images that they can see.
Mm-hmm.
But giving your 5-year-old an iPad is not the good way to go. Let them play outside.
I don't think. Yeah.
Like, let them make friends. They can get technology when they're 12. I mean,
right. I'm definitely not going to allow my kids to have any of the iPads or anything like that when they're really young.
Yeah, I think I'm giving, like, 13. I mean, maybe a game console, but, like, a family game console.
Right.
Like that's in the living room. That's it. Like,
yeah.
But it's definitely limited. Definitely gonna. I see definitely a lot. I just realized. Oh my God. Definitely gonna give them a limited amount of time. Not gonna let them be up late.
Yeah.
Because I'm learning from my mistakes. Like, not my parents' mistakes from letting me do it, because they've tried to tell me to go to bed and things like that, but it never worked out. But I'm learning from my mistakes on what to tell my kids.
Yeah. Well, this has definitely been a good episode, a good talk.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
Yeah. Well, thank you for listening. This is Downtime with Jacob and Greg. We'll see you on the next episode.
Adios.
Bye-bye.